These were originally made as a part of a Let's Play I was doing. This is why I say things like, thanks for watching, and don't watch this part if you don't want to be spoiled, at awkward points throughout this video. I just wanted my boss rundowns to be in their own video, weird pacing aside. Thanks for watching! Do not watch this part if you do not want to be spoiled. I like to think that the sacks around this monster, whose name I think is pronounced Sepulcher, symbolize fertilizer dirt bags for plants, as well as having a double meaning, also symbolizing a body bag. The strange black stuff in the monster's mouth could symbolize suffocation and dirt, a feeling of someone being buried alive. Sepulcher appears to be an incarnation of Joey Bartlett, after his own father, Mayor Bartlett, buried him alive. It could symbolize Mayor Bartlett's guilt for killing his own son, or it could also symbolize Joey Bartlett's inner rage for being buried alive. Or the monster could symbolize both. Or maybe the monster is a direct reincarnation of Joey. In my opinion, it is all up to interpretation. That is probably the simplest and most straightforward rundown I could give, and thank you for watching. Do not watch this part if you do not want to be spoiled. I'm even going to go over what I think the second phase foreshadows. And major spoiler warning, it has to do with the final boss in this game. As Dr. Fitch clearly states, his daughter loves dolls. So Scarlet, being a giant porcelain doll, seems to make a lot of sense. Looking closely at the bed at the start of Hell Descent, there appears to be a silhouette of a little girl. It's pretty easy to assume that this little girl is Scarlet, maybe a remnant of her before her father dismembered her on her bed. All of the graphic detail this boss fight possesses, all the bloody cracks in its plastic, seems to symbolize the way that Scarlet died. It could symbolize Dr. Fitch's guilt for dismembering his daughter alive, or the monster could be a direct, symbolic representation of Scarlet herself. Its second spider-like form seems to be one of this game's many foreshadowings towards, major spoiler warning, Amnion, which is this game's end battle. I will not actually show the final boss because spoilers, but I will mention it. But really, it is all up to interpretation, in my opinion at least. Anyway, that is the too long didn't read of Scarlet that I can provide, and thanks for watching. Now to go over Asphyxia, and as you guys know at this point, do not watch if you do not want to be spoiled. Asphyxia, being shaped like a caterpillar, seems to be symbolic of Nora's love for the book Alice in Wonderland, as we find a picture of her reading Alice in Wonderland, along with the flavor text, she likes the caterpillar. The fact that Alex makes Asphyxia breathe in order to kill her seems to be symbolic of the way that Nora died, as her mother, Margaret Holloway, murdered her by choking her to death. As you can see, all the boss fights so far take place in the presence of a parent, after showing the parent an item that the child owned. It is a game about broken families, though why the parents are doing this and why everyone in town is missing still seems to be a mystery. There seems to have been a compelling force that influenced Mayor Bartlett, Judge Holloway, and Dr. Fitch into committing these atrocities. And some of the parents seem to refer to these monstrous representation of their children as godlike entities, saying stuff like, "Please forgive me," and "protect me." Amnion is foreshadowed many times throughout this game. One of the first things we see in this entire game is an Amnion foreshadowing, this medical device above Alex being one, as well as a collection of bugs in Alex's room, along with a photo of a spider fighting a toy soldier, and Scarlet's second form. However, there are far more subtle foreshadowings to this boss. That may just be me looking too deeply into it, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Sepulcher, for example, having black stuff in its mouth, along with Amnion having a black tube going into her mouth, and Asphyxia having multiple appendages, with Amnion having the same. The needler enemy itself could also have some sort of connection, but really that is all up to interpretation. Amnion looks like Lillian Shepherd, Alex's mother. This could symbolize Alex feeling guilt over his mother's death, which could tie into the theories that the other boss fights are not in fact reincarnations of the children, but rather just manifestations of the parents' guilt coming alive. The spider-like monstrosity's neck extending like a camera could be a reference to all the photos that you find throughout the game, and it could also be a reference to Josh's neck breaking, as you can hear that subtly in the cutscene before he drowned. Amnion being pregnant could be symbolic of this game's theme of birth, since all of the nurses are pregnant, and a lot of the imagery in this game is very suggestive, such as the needler's head poking out like a baby during childbirth. Amnion could also be symbolic of how Alex viewed his family. Since Josh seems to be protected in Amnion's womb, it could symbolize Alex thinking that Josh was too sheltered by his parents.
Dad thinks you're a little baby who can't do anything on his own.
I'm now going to go over a little theory that I would like you guys to indulge. There was a mask all the way back at the Otherworld Shepherd's house that mysteriously disappeared, and that mask had an angry expression that reminded Alex of his mother, and Amnion very clearly acts quite angry. Along with Amnion having a similar face to Alex's mother, could there be some sort of connection between the mysterious angry mask that disappeared all the way back at the Shepherd's house, and this spider-like monstrosity that appears at the end of the game? I believe it is all up to interpretation, but it is a fun idea to play with. I also want to entertain another theory. All of the boss fights in this game formed in the presence of a parent. However, Amnion was not in the presence of any parent. So what if her design, looking just like Lillian, is Silent Hill forcing a parent to be present in order for this boss fight to be conjured? Okay, I may be looking way too deeply into this, but in my opinion it's still something to think about. None of the bosses resembled a parent until now. I'm now going to go over a little detail that I really like in this game that I feel like a lot of people don't notice. And if people have noticed this, then I personally have never read any forum online of people noticing this, so I'm gonna mention it. This cutscene where Alex gives Josh the flashlight seems to lead directly into the cutscene where Josh dies. Josh is holding the flashlight in the same position at the end of the flashlight cutscene that he is in at the start of his death cutscene. And you can even interpret this cutscene, where Adam gives Josh the ring, as taking place shortly before or on the same day as the flashlight cutscene, since Josh is wearing the same clothes he was wearing in both cutscenes. So these three cutscenes could be interpreted as a non-chronological series of directly correlated events that all happened on the same day in quick succession of each other.